Hello everybody, it's John Johnston from Corn Nation. I'm going to go ahead and give you a reaction to Mark Whipple being hired as our offensive coordinator and Donovan Raiola being hired as our offensive line coach. I'm going to be at airports tomorrow or on Wednesday, and if I'm wrong, if they're not the guys, then well, whatever. This is a rundown on them and my opinion of them. Mark Whipple, 64 years old, older than I am, which means he's crusty. But Nick Saban is 70, so I guess you could, whatever you think of somebody that old still coaching, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, bottom line with Mark Whipple is we all remember there's going to be terrible jokes and more terrible jokes about squeezing the charm, and God help us all for that. But the guy has a massive amount of experience. He's coached in every level of football, it sounds like. He's, including the NFL, where he was the quarterback's coach for Ben Roethlisberger when he started out. Never mind what you think of him now. But lots of experience all over the board, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. Now, I tried to find information on his offense, what types of offenses, scheme, anything like that. There really isn't a whole lot of stuff out there, and that's probably because I don't know, he's been around for a while, and anything that anybody would post now probably would be based upon what he's done at Pitt, because he resigned as Pitt's offensive coordinator to possibly become Nebraska's offensive coordinator, which I think is a weird move. If you think about it, most of his coaching career has been in a part of the nation that is not the Midwest. His stats can look kind of balanced. From what I gather, he prefers the pass over the run. But one thing I did find is from our SBNation Pitt site, Cardiac Hill, and it was this quote I want to read you. During his 3 seasons at Pitt, Whipple took a weak, run-heavy offense inherited from Shawn Watson and modeled it into a juggernaut. As a result, Pitt climbed from number 94 in the nation in scoring offense under Watson in 2018 with 25.6 points per game to number 3 under Whipple in 2021 with 43 points per game. And if you saw, Pitt this year won the ACC, beat Wake Forest. Pitt has never really been known as a football juggernaut or giant or anything. So I guess if you're just looking at the last few years and don't look at anything else, of course you're going to feel good about Mark Whipple deciding to leave his job at Pitt and come to Nebraska as the offensive coordinator. I think it's kind of a weird hire. It seems to be out of the blue, but maybe they had a giant list of names of offensive coordinators, and they went through them, and it was kind of like, the ball falling down and just, and then it hits Mark Whipple. What a terrible joke. And then we got Donovan Raiola, apparently coming in as our new offensive line coach. He is currently the assistant offensive line coach for the Chicago Bears. If you are a Bears fan, you are probably looking at this and going, well, I'm glad he's leaving. And if you're a Nebraska football fan, you hear the name Raiola and you say, I'm glad he's coming. Because, we all know, you know of his brother, Dominic Raiola, was one of the best centers Nebraska had ever had. He has the pedigree, the Raiola name. Steve Sipple wrote a nice article about how he's going to have the fire of the Raiolas. I don't really care. What I care about is, can you coach? Whatever name you have and how familiar you are and your connections with Nebraska. If we haven't lost enough at this point that we're done with that kind of shit, then I can't help you. If it's important to you that a coach coming in still has a Nebraska connection, I honestly, I don't know what to say to you anymore. I prefer somebody that just knows how to coach and knows how to win. Because we're going to need player development out of all of these coaches that we're going to hire or be part of our new offensive staff. The most important thing that they're going to have is player development. So we're looking at those two people. The spew, the spittle, the rumors, the stuff going on is that Bill Busch is going to be a dedicated special teams coach. We picked up a 5-star kicker recently. We picked up a couple other guys that have mentioned Bill Busch as thanks Coach Busch or whatever. So is that there? Not announced. I'm sure we'll find this out while I'm sitting in an airport in Austin, Texas, or Dallas or something. If you go with Whipple, Raiola, Busch, Brown, Mickey Joseph, somebody has to be an analyst because we're running out of coaching slots to fit him in because of the limitations, the NCAA limitations. I think Mickey Joseph was a great hire. He's known as a great recruiter, and he has experience, and he's proved it by the players that he's, coached and become All-Americans and stuff like that. And I mentioned recruiting. Mark Whipple is not known as a good recruiter. That's one thing I found in my research, kind of like science research, which is questionable. Ron Brown, not a real good reputation as a recruiter. Donovan Raiola, I bet his parents, I bet those two brothers screwed with their parents all the time with the same names and, getting in trouble and anyway, messed with their teachers, girlfriends. I bet they had all sorts of hijinks going on when they were young. Maybe they do now. Anyway, Donovan Raiola, I don't know if he has much experience as a recruiter. Is that important? I think it is important. I don't think it's everything. If you look over the past few years, Nebraska has out-recruited everybody in the Big Ten West, and what's it gotten us? It's gotten us last. I don't care if Northwestern's maybe laster than we are. We're still at the bottom. We suck, and we need to get better. And I think one of the ways we're probably going to get better is if these guys are good at player development, because that's what's been sorely lacking, apparently, on the offense, especially when you look at our starting tackles that couldn't do pass protection at all, which is kind of a concern when you look at Mark Whipple being hired as a offensive coordinator who prefers the pass, and we have zero pass protection. So I guess this is all going to be interesting to see how this comes together with these guys. What really does all of this stuff mean? I don't think it means a damn thing, honestly. I think the bottom line if you look at Raiola and you look at Whipple, the bottom line is it doesn't change anything. I don't think neither of these guys have. Put it this way: if you're a guy watching this and you think, well, Scott Frost is going to fail, he's not a good head coach, he's never going to figure this out, they're just going to have to fire him 6 games into next season because he's going to suck. I don't think these hires are going to do anything to change your mind. And if you're a person who is, Scott Frost was so close and we were so close and we're, going to be a really good team. We just need some pieces to come together and be good and have a special teams coach that's dedicated to not getting punts blocked against Iowa and not punting the ball to the wrong side of the field against Michigan State and not missing field goals. And I could go on. You get the idea. I mean, if you're a person that thinks that we're right there and that Scott Frost is the guy, then this is just, you're going to find reasons to like these guys. What do I think? Honestly, I think there's a little too much Nebraska in this for me. I don't care about the connections to Nebraska. I don't think there's any reason you don't need to hire guys that know you or that have any connection to us. I know that we like to think of ourselves as special and people need to understand us and our culture, but it's just bullshit. We need people that are going to come in and, like I said, do recruiting, because you can't just let that go. Do player development, which has been sorely lacking over since Mike Riley. came. Mike Riley wasn't really good at that either, and Scott Frost on the offensive side of the ball has been pretty shitty, honestly, offensive line. With regards to the recruiting, maybe the portal thing. You've got kids in the portal all over the place. I think Minnesota has 10. If you're one of those people that are going, why can't Nebraska keep their players? We're losing everybody to the portal. No, this is kind of common. Everybody has this thing. Minnesota has 10 players in the portal, so everybody's going through this. And you look out there and you go, is that going to change everything? Yeah, it seems like it is. It's almost like free agency in college football. And maybe that's where Mark Whipple's massive amounts of experience come in, is that he has a long time understanding of dealing with human beings and how human beings talk and how they act. And I think that that's very important. A lot of people would point out Dr. Tom. And Dr. Tom had his degree, in educational psychology. In other words, he knew people, and he knew how to use them. I don't mean uses, and you know what I mean. He knew what motivated them. He knew where to put them. He probably knew how to make them better than they were by themselves. And I think that's really important. Maybe that's the X factor that Mark Whipple, with his massive tons of years of experience, can bring in here. The only other guy, the old guy you got in here, is Ron Brown, and it looks like he will not be a dedicated running backs coach, but be a analyst or a specialist, or analyst that can't be on the field coaching. Do I have anything else to add to this? I don't think so. We could go through stats, but I think the stats again are something you're going to look at, and that's going to make you feel better or worse about these hires. And when it comes to these guys, you're just going to do this so that you've already chosen your confirmation bias, and whatever you read into these hires is going to confirm your bias. The last thing I'll say is this: from the Pitt website, on Mark Whipple's bio, begins as regarded as one of football's finest offensive minds. Mark Whipple enters his third season as Pitt's offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Whipple owns 4 decades of experience in championship rings at both the NFL and collegiate levels. That's pretty damn impressive. Nobody's ever going to write anything that impressive about me. I can tell you that right there. Okay, that's it. Do I hope this happens? Kind of tired of waiting, so why not? Your other choice was like Graham Harrell, and I kept trying to think of how in the hell are we going to run the air raid at Nebraska? I know people have all this shit about the weather and we can't throw the ball that much and 4 verts, but I just thought, how are you going to incorporate some option schemes or some power running in with an air raid? And then with Graham Harrell, you'd also have this Scott Frost has this scheme kind of idea where he's scheming against the other players and looking at matchups, whereas Graham Harrell's offensive mind would say, we're going to run like 8 plays and we're going to run them over and over and over until we're really incredibly good at those plays. And those 2 things, I wondered how they mesh with him. And I'm kind of glad that it looks like we're not going to hire Graham Harrell. So that people's brains don't explode and they get aneurysms and die of strokes, because we're still not going to have a fullback and throw the ball 80 times a game. Might still throw the ball 40. I guess we're going to find out. We'll find out if I'm right. If everybody's right. Nebraska media is reporting that this is almost a done deal, and I should be done talking. I hope you're all doing well. Take care of yourselves. Go Big Red. Maybe there is hope. Yeah.